What's important to you in your personal life?
Friends, being out in nature, enjoyment, spiritual stuff, and sex and intimacy.
And are those things present in your life at the moment?
Sex and intimacy is a bit shortfall at present. I certainly have friends. The biggest thing on my shortfall is the self. I've let that fall away.
How have you done that?
I've been involved in a marriage breakup, and in that all the stress and not focusing on my physical body at all my emotions, feelings, organising stuff away.
How's that working for you?
Terrible.
Now you're planning on doing anything with that?
Well, I basically resolved my marriage situation, and now I'm reconnecting with friends and all of that, and seeing what it looks like out there in the world and how people see me, I suppose, as well, being single.
Yeah.
And I'm just begun my Get Physical program. Get up in the morning, do my exercises, meditations, and that's just gradually building up, and acting more healthily, like cut down on the cigarettes, I'll get rid of them altogether, probably get rid of them.
If we went to a bigger picture, went to the picture of the world, what makes you happiest about how the world is right now?
Pretty much the same as it's always been. I love nature, and to a large extent that is the basis of the world. I love being in it.
So spending time in what the world has to offer.
Yeah.
What makes you least happy, or what upsets you most about how we're interacting with the world right now?
Probably the same thing as what I least like about myself in my life, as the upsets. And there's certainly upsets out there in the bigger world.
Like what?
Political agendas, starvation, degradation of the environment, certainly a lot of conflict, either physical or spiritual. But basically, the attitudes of human beings seem to be not aligned with where they're supposed to be living.
Is there any one thing in particular that really kind of touches you?
One thing. But is this touches me in what way?
Well,
good or bad or?
Well, that you see as being something that would be really good to have dealt with, to have.
You mean like a dream for my life? Something I'd like to do that calls me up out into the world?
If that's what you're hearing from me, yes, that.
Okay, that is what I'm sort of hearing from you, or was the first thing that came up. So yes, there is.
What's that?
Rites of passage for men.
For men?
Yeah.
And what would that entail? How would that look?
That would entail me setting up a rites of passage program from scratch, really. And the only way I can see to make it work is to start at an age of about 67 and work backwards.
Really? So start with older men and bring it back down the line. That would be kind of opposite to what I imagine others would do.
You know, if you started with the boys, what sort of container are they stepping into? They're not stepping into any container. They're stepping into exactly where they were before. Whereas if you start with the older men, one at that age, they've usually to some degree finished their working life. They've got a lot more time, but most of all, they've got the vision the experience of life, which is basically what needs to be shared at the simplest.
And what are you doing about that?
I've thought about it a lot, other than being involved in setting up a boys' rites of passage program.
Now?
I have been.
Now, what are you doing about it now?
Now, I'm nothing. I've got plans, but I haven't actually taken action on them as yet.
Mm-hmm. When would you plan to do that?
Well, certainly at this point I feel like I've free of commitments, and this would seem to be a point at which I start pulling it all together. I know the men I'd like to have in it. I basically need to start pulling them together, and myself. And I think the first part of all of that is us doing our own rites of passage.
If there were 50 million people watching this, you had 50 million, potentially 25 million. Well, it may well be that there's a need to be scared.
Thank you.
So 25 million of those very likely, or as far as odds are concerned, are likely to be men. What would you say to them right here, right now, about that thing that switches your heart on and opens your heart up?
Rites of passage, right?
Yeah.
Rites of passage is basically fulfilling a means to fulfill every man being the best possible man they possibly can. Aware of what their responsibilities as men are, the joys of men, and how to be great in their community and their love lives.
And
Does that sum it up for you?
Yeah, is there a call to them at all to step up for that?
I hope so.
What would you say to them specifically, to those people? You're looking at them down the barrel of that camera. You can now address those people. What are you calling on them for?
Okay. So if at any stage in your life you've felt lost, you've felt swamped by emotions, swamped by circumstances, and totally alone, then rites of passage for men is definitely an option to help you bring you back in balance, and to acknowledge your connections to the world and your functions, and to do it really joyfully with men who have probably done exactly the same thing as you have, or similar. Come along.
Great. That's a good call. Is there a way that we can attach something to the end of this video that will allow them to get in touch with you to support what you're doing or what you're planning?
Well, I don't have the computer. I have an email address, so they can contact me on that, or they can contact you, I suppose.
Great. Well, let's stick with the email address.
davidfrost27@gmail.com.